We'd like to invite you once again to our senior panel from the Schomburg Bond. We meet monthly to discuss things of the past, things that were and that no longer are, and contrast them to the present. It has been said frequently that memories complete the soul. And I think looking back into the past and tracing some of the things that we as members, senior members of the community, remember really do enrich not only our lives, but the lives of our children, grandchildren, and the public that is viewing our program. Today we're going to take a look into the past. Our theme has been change. And we know that change is inevitable. It is something that will happen without our help, or sometimes with our help, and I think all we have to do is look in the mirror and we realize how much we've changed through the years ourselves. And Blaise Pascal said that nature acts by progress. It goes and it returns, then it advances further, then twice as much back, and then more forward than ever, and so on. And today we're going to be taking a look at people and things that we remember in our early life. They are no longer around, and if you mention these to our grandchildren or children, many of them are not even aware that these people and things that we're going to talk about have existed. We'd like to start with people. And I think one of the things we've been talking about is the fabulous Iceman cometh. Does anybody have any remembrances of the Iceman delivering ice?
Yes, we used to have to put a sign in the window, and it was four different sides, and it would tell you how many pounds of ice that the Iceman would have to bring up with him. And he would carry it on his shoulder with the ice pick and bring it upstairs and stick it in our ice box.
That was another thing, wasn't it? How many remember the ice box and having to empty it?
Empty the water.
And if you forgot to empty it, you would have water all over your kitchen floor. Mm-hmm. And when the Iceman was bringing the ice in, the boys would get on the truck to get the pieces of ice to suck on.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I remember that also.
Yeah.
I heard of a cousin of mine was saying that her father was very ingenious. They put the ice box into the pantry. He drilled a hole in the floor and put a pipe from the ice pan into the basement, and it flowed into a drain that was in the cellar floor. Now, I mean, that's ingenuity.
Yeah, if you have your own home.
Yes, that's true, but if you lived in an apartment?
Yeah, if you live in an apartment on the third floor, it was really kind of difficult to do that.
Did you have a chore of an assignment?
Oh yes, I had a chore. Well, I'm just skipping over something. I had a chore of cleaning out the big stove, coal stove, and cleaning out the clinkers that they were called.
What are clinkers?
They're the big round things that are
left over from the burnout.
Leftovers of the coal that was burning into the potbelly stove. And you'd have to take those all out, and then you have to take them all the way down and empty them out in the alley.
Oh.
In the garbage can.
In the garbage can?
Yes.
But they were cold when you put them in the garbage can.
Oh yes, they were cold. You couldn't carry those when they were hot.
Did either of you have potbelly stoves?
We did. Of course, up in northern Wisconsin, we had no electricity for many years. I think I was about 16 when the REA came through and installed the posts and the lines. Mm-hmm. That's how we first got our electricity. So everything was manual. Mm-hmm. Everything was potbelly stoves and pumps. Mm-hmm. Treadle machines, sewing machines.
Clotheslines.
And we did very nicely without the electricity.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it was more manual work.
Right.
But we made do, and actually, if you don't have it, you don't miss it.
That's
right.
true.
So a lot of things we just did without the electricity.
You mentioned RTA or something?
Rural electrification,
REA.
REA.
Oh, Rural Electric.
Rural Electrification Association.
Okay.
It was like with the CCC, you know this,
Yes.
WPA, that was
Okay.
the projects
Okay.
that were brought up, I think, by President Roosevelt.
Okay.
And that's when we had all the conveniences brought in.
Right. Now, I do remember they used to have the big black stoves for cooking.
I was going
Yeah.
to say that's what we had.
Yeah.
A big black stove, and it was a wood burning stove.
Yep.
And Mom even baked, and of course the baked goods was really great. Now it's a specialty for the pizza makers with their wooden stoves. And we had that, what, 70 years ago? More than that, about 80 years ago.
And you know what? The thing that gets me with those big stoves, the wood-burning cook stoves, there was no regulated heat.
No,
Yet when
never.
the things were put in and taken out, they tasted delicious. The cakes rose, the meat was done. and-
Everything was timed by your own memory. You put it in, you'd remember.
And heaven forbid if you didn't. That really that brings back a lot of memories. How about the junk man?
Oh, you mean Rags the Line?
I wish we had him today.
We take a lot of things out of our homes that we don't need.
Right.
Well, he used to yell Rags the Line, and of course, if there was something you wanted to pass on or drop off, he would come and get it. And it was nice, but you could hear him chanting as he walked down the street or down the alleyway and yelling Rags the Line, and people would run down or call him, and then he would go back into the house and pick up the papers and things, whatever he needed.
Right. Okay. And it was horse-drawn, wasn't it? Or was you?
Most of the time it was a horse drawn.
It was horse-drawn. We had a vegetable and a fruit wagon that came every Saturday that was horse-drawn. And I mean, he had everything on that wagon.
Even the milk was delivered that
By
way, too,
horse.
by the
Right.
horse. Horse and cart at one time.
The good old days.
Yes, yes, yes.
Well, what else do you remember that was delivered by horse and wagon or made later motorized cars?
Coal.
Oh, yeah.
Coal and oil was delivered to our homes over the years.
That's
yeah.
right.
Do you have any memories of coal deliveries?
Oh, yes.
We had to shovel it in from the outside into the inside.
Downstairs. And then each person, whatever flat you were in, you would have to order your coal, and it would go through a chute, and then you would have to shovel it and put it into your area that you had for your family, for your area, for your flat.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, we lived in a 3-flat building.
Uh-huh. Now, I remember when they pulled up with the coal truck, it was parked by the curb, and it went into barrels, and these men used to roll the barrels into the alley, and then it went down the chute. In fact, we had a special room called a coal bin.
shed.
Coal bin or
Yeah.
a coal shed.
Coal shed or coal bin.
That was really, now today, I think,
Well, I think we were limited in the amount of gas burning permits that were issued. You know, the gas company would issue just so many permits. And then a new set came in. If you got a permit, you could convert your coal into gas.
okay. I know
That I remember.
yeah,
The
we
one that came-
converted from coal into oil.
Okay.
And then gas.
Then later on, it was natural
And then electric. Yeah.
Because I remember the big tank that went into the coal bin, and they couldn't get it out, so I think it still remains there.
And sometimes I'm sure it does.
Right. So the coal was there. How about the scissors grinder? Does anybody remember that?
I remember the organ grinder with the monkey.
Oh, yes.
And then he used to grind and play a tune, and the monkey would take his hat off and tip it off to the people and everything. And it used to make the kids laugh and everything.
And you gave him a penny.
Yeah, you give him a
he put
penny.
the
Gave him a
little tin
penny.
cup.
Yeah, or he'd walk around with this little tin cup and collect money from everybody. It was cute. It was really
Come to
cute.
think of it, I have seen organ grinders, scissor grinders here right in Schaumburg. And that must be maybe about 15 or 20 years ago. Don't we get them at the fest? Somewhere I have seen them at some festival.
At the fair during over by the library, every summer he's
Somewhere.
there throughout the summer.
Right, is the
Yeah.
gentleman that does it manually. He pedals with the, he has some, like a.
Your knives and your scissors.
Yeah.
He's over there.
the
He's
fair.
a dollar and a half per knife.
It's
Is it?
still
Oh,
done
that's
here.
wonderful.
If that you go to, like you're right, at
He's over
the
at the
library?
all summer long. Yeah,
Oh, what is it, the farmer's market?
farmers
probably.
market. He's there.
okay.
Yeah, it could be then.
Well,
You
that's
can
just
take your
that-
knives in, drop them off, and do the whole fair and all of your vegetable shopping.
Oh,
That is
okay.
really,
That sounds good.
that is true. How about the umbrella man?
Yeah, we had one that came by, not very often, but he would ring his bell, and you could bring out your umbrella, and they would repair it for you. The ribs, if they were broken. We had that come by, and then we had the photo man, and he would come by with a pony.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what? I had a
remember that.
picture of
No, I don't
myself somewhere
remember
that was taken when I was, on the pony, but I don't know what happened to it now. I wish I had it.
I know. Some of the memories, they fade into the past and we can't find them. Also, there were vendors that came door to door that were quite interesting. I mean, if a vendor came today, I wouldn't open the door to them.
They were salesmen that knew that we couldn't afford everything, so we would pay on time payment. We would get linens, and we would get dishes and pots and pans, curtains, and they would charge us $1 a week. And every week the man would come and bring his little book and mark it off. And when it was all paid for, he'd thank you, and then he'd say, well, now what do you want? And it was a continuous thing. You kept on continuing buying things because on time payment, that's all you could afford at that time, was $1 a week. And these were the salesmen that used to come to the doors.
And it was all based on trust.
Yes, it was.
And
I mean, there was
Insurance
no
men.
written
Oh,
contract.
yeah.
Insurance men used to do their
Insurance man.
collections every week that way.
That's
Just like
right.
the Dollar Man.
Right, I remember it was a nickel we had to, a nickel a book that my mother had insurance, and we had to make sure that we gave a nickel for each book and he'd mark it down. They must have been healthy at that time because they did a lot of walking.
Yes,
We did.
yes.
The Fuller Brush Man, anybody remember him?
Oh, yeah.
In fact, I still have some.
I still have my Fuller.
I
have a
do
Fuller
too,
brush
and that
at home
that's
that I
must be
kept all these
30 years old or so.
They guaranteed it to last a
If
Still in
lifetime.
good condition,
Yeah,
too.
very
All you gotta
good.
do is put it in hot water, and the bristles just come right back up again.
They were natural.
Very
natural
good.
I've got one of those vegetable brushes yet.
Oh, really?
my goodness.
That's really.
That's ancient.
They made things
They made
much
things that
better.
last, yes.
To last.
Right. It really is just so interesting. I pulled up on the internet the other day 25 things that we have today, and before we end our session, I'm going to ask you to predict what we have today that will not be around 10, 15 years from now. But don't think about that yet. We're not there. Let's take another little side trip into things. We know that General Electric has their slogan, progress is our most important product. And there are things that we can think about. We talked about the icebox. Can you think of any other things in your past that we no longer have around, but we have fond memories of?
Your washboards,
Oh, yeah. Weren't they fun?
different sizes, smaller for smaller items and larger for men's shirts and trousers.
Wash machines with ringers.
Yeah, yes.
How many times the fingers went in?
My mother's
Or the
fingers
hair.
went in, and the machine would pop. And every time it popped, we knew somebody had their hand in there. That was something else with the washing machines like that.
And then you had to sort your clothes so that the cleaner clothes went in first, and then progressively, because you didn't change for each load, I mean, progressively you washed it and then put it into one basin to rinse it and another one. So it was really a system of,
We used to get coupons from Phil's Napta soap, I remember, and we used to save the coupons, and then we would stack them into hundreds, and then we would take them in shopping bags to the store, to the center stores where they
Got
would
your soap.
where they would give us appliances. You could buy appliances with those coupons that you got.
It's like the green stamps.
Right.
Well, the
Right.
green
Green
stamps
That came
we had.
later. That came later, but this was Phil's Napta soap that I remember very well.
Yes, but try and buy a bar.
can't. There isn't
no,
any
there's
like
certain
that around.
stores. I still have several bars. I found some in the store, and I
And
bought
you know
up
what? They're good for removing
very
spots.
good spot removers.
Yes.
well,
the
we
best.
cannot get them because Julia has bought them all.
Ordered.
But they are
It
good.
was good soap.
Yes.
But we used it for everything, even washing your hair and everything.
That's right.
All the time.
That's another thing. If you actually think back to when we didn't have the shampoos.
No.
We just, when you washed your face, you washed your hair. No
Hair
wonder
and
it went
face and everything.
straight.
No, I think most of the time it curled your hair.
Well, if you have natural.
No, not really.
Well, what about, you said washboards, then that means you did not have a washing machine, Dorothy.
Not for years.
No,
Not
you
for
had to-
years.
You had to use washboards at first in order to get certain spots out of your clothing.
We used
and then
them,
you put them into the wash machine.
Used them mainly in the bathtub
Yeah.
or metal
Washed in
tubs
the
that you put
bathtub,
up on a
right.
table.
Right.
Boy, that
We
was
had
really work.
where it was a ringer in the middle, and you had a place for one tub where you washed, you're dragging your clothes out into another tub that was rinsed. We had one of those in the kitchen when Mom was doing her wash.
That's right, because it wasn't electric either. No, it was
Hand
all
turned.
manual.
It was all hand turned.
Yeah,
Elbow grease.
all, yeah. There was a crank that you turned for the ringer and everything. Yeah, we had that.
Now, probably you, more than the rest of us on the farm, you had the pump in the kitchen with the...
No. We had a pump by the house.
Okay.
So we carried it a short distance away from the front, that we pumped the water out and brought it in. And on the stove, we had it was like a deep well that you filled every morning, and every time you heated your stove, your water got hot, and that was for like dishes or laundry or anything you needed, immediate hot water. Yeah. And of course, we had a river that ran through our farm, and of course, that was our swimming all summer, all our bathing. Our bathing.
We didn't have bathtubs.
No,
all
but she had a
summer.
river, so she was lucky.
All summer long, we were the cleanest people. Yeah.
Well, I remember my grandmother had a great big copper tub, and she'd fill it with rainwater because we had a rain barrel. And the rainwater would go into the tub, and she'd put it outside in the sun, so it would heat up. And that was our, quote, bathtub, swimming pool, and you name it.
And of course, we made do. Somehow or another. I didn't miss any of these things we have these days. I don't think I knew any better, you know.
Right.
You did without.
We accepted the things the way
Yes.
that they were. And since we're on washing, clotheslines.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
And the wooden clothespins.
Yeah.
It smelled so good.
Putting them in your mouth.
Holding them in your mouth so that you wouldn't have to bend down all the time
Right.
to pick them up.
And clothespin bags. And,
That's right.
But they smelled so nice
Oh, yes,
when
with
you
the
actually
clothes hanging
think of it.
outside.
Yes.
Yes.
There was nothing like a fresh smell.
Well, I still have an extended line that I put from my shed to my house, and I put my sheets on that. And
Now?
Even now.
I
You can get those extended clotheslines.
Yes, I do too, from my
I love
house
it.
to a bush nearby. But I put on, if I wash clothes, I have my fragiles, you know, like
Uh-huh. Well, I
blouses
do
that
that
I
too, but I
don't
just love
let
the
dry
smell of
too long
linens.
in the dryer. I hang them outside.
Yeah, I do
It's in my bag, and nobody really sees it except me.
It doesn't matter nowadays. They
No.
know everything and they've seen everything,
Yeah.
so it doesn't
Well,
matter.
I had a girlfriend that whenever she used to hang out her stuff on the line, my mother always put out the heavy things were at the end because it was one of these pulley lines.
Pulley lines.
But she would not put her personals on the line.
Oh.
She'd put them inside a pillowcase and then
Well, they were very frugal in those days. Everybody wanted to make sure they were
modest, very modest.
Very modest, yes.
What about, you mentioned the treadle sewing machine. Did you do much sewing on that?
My mother did a lot of sewing. Of course, there were 5 girls in the family, so you can see girls are easier to sew for. And she did a lot of sewing. And we had the treadle machine for many, many years. In fact, maybe it was passed down, I think, maybe about 5 or 6 years ago. It was at my house, and somehow or another, I thought it was so old-fashioned. It was taking up so much room. I had an electric one, and I just got rid of it. And
my.
it was a Singer that seemed to last forever. All those things from years ago lasted so long, and you could almost keep them for a long time. But it sold very well, but it didn't have, you know, like reverse and embroidery or hem stitching or none of those.
And that's the one with the
gadgets.
pedaling of the feet, right? On the
Yeah.
top.
Right, like
And the
a-
turning of the
My
wheel.
sister's got my mother's.
Yeah. She
has
still
it in her-
uses it. Oh,
No,
yes.
she doesn't use it. It's still in the basement. She has it in her basement, but it was my mother's.
I was using it for heavier stuff that I didn't want
Oh,
to
that's what she
wreck
did
my
for.
good sewing machine.
Well, somebody, I'm sure, Sue, will come along and say, oh, that'll look just fine in my bedroom,
Yes.
living room, and it'll become an antique if
Oh,
it
yeah,
isn't
I'm
now.
They did convert them into
A sewing machine doesn't do
cabinets.
anything for me because I must have been about 6 years old. And you remember those sewing machines were real fancy with the cast iron stands. I had to sit there and dust that machine every week. It was no fun. So I'm not, they don't,
They don't interest you.
no, ma'am.
Well, that's
I
like-
gather,
I could do without them.
and I gather you didn't do much sewing either.
That's like dining room sets, how I hated sitting in the dining room and dusting every Saturday was my job. Every crevice and every
Yes.
nook and I don't even own a dining room set. I don't want one. I've had 3 homes and I didn't have a dining room in any one of them.
Well, talking about dusting, does anybody remember the springs on the bed? They had to
yeah.
be dusted also.
Oh, yes.
You took the mattress off and you had to go
dust
and...
all those springs and everything, yes.
How nice when the inner spring mattresses came along. We can look back now and we can see so many things that have passed on. And I think two things before we go on. We mentioned before the Victrola.
Oh, yes.
That is
That was
a memory.
a memory. It's a trademark with the dog, and like you said, the dog's name was Victor, but that was Victor Victrola that we had, and we had to crank it in order to get it to play,
Yeah.
and we were praying that it'd play all the way through before it stopped.
Right. Well, those records were just about 3 minutes long, if I remember
No, they
correctly.
were,
they were-
no,
they
they
were
were like
good
they were
ones.
like the LPs.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
They were pretty good size.
Yeah, they were
Yeah, they
good.
were good size, but they were the kind that they would break very easily.
Yeah.
They were very fragile. You had to handle them very carefully.
Right. Did anybody have that big horn attached?
Yes,
to
we
it?
did.
The big one?
And I don't know what happened. My brother-in-law took it, and I don't know what happened to it. I wish I had it now.
Yeah. There's many things we can look back and say, we really wish that we had.
Yeah.
And,
We had an organ, real big organ. We called it a pump organ. And my sister learned how to play self-taught, where you pedaled with your feet, and that's where, when you play the music, you had to pedal with your feet to
It
get
was
the...
sort of like a bellows
Yes.
that you were pumping through the different pipes.
And we sang to it, for many, many years around Christmas and any holiday or.
What about the ones with the rollers, with the
Yes.
rollers?
The piano rollers.
Piano
Yeah.
rollers. And we used to sit every Christmas time, we'd bring it out, and the whole gang would go around the piano and start singing
Yeah.
songs. And all you had to do was just put the roller in there and hit it on, and then play all kinds of music, and you'd sing right along, sing your heart out.
Yeah.
It was really a lot
I
of
miss
fun.
those sing-alongs.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to say thank you. Isn't it a warm feeling just going back in the past
Yeah.
and remembering some of these things? I have one question before we go. As I said, I did find on a website 25 things that they feel within 25 years are going to become extinct. I don't know if you can see this on camera. And I was just wondering if you could predict what are some of the things that we have today that you feel are going to become extinct in the United States. One thing they have 24, I sound like...
Give us one hint and we'll see.
Okay, well, they feel that yellow pages are going to become extinct
Yes.
in America.
See, I read that.
Well, that's because of your computers. Everybody
Yeah,
can go on
you
a
can-
computer and find out what they want anytime.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
anything associated with that, and they brought
With
up the
printing.
fact, not only Yellow Page, classified ads and newspapers.
Newspapers are on the way
And
out.
we've
yeah.
seen something now that has gone out. If anybody has gone next to Applebee's, there was a movie rental store, Blockbuster.
Yeah.
There, they predict those are going out. Phones, land phones will be on their way out because of the cell phone. And we're all experiencing on June 12th what's going to happen.
Digital TV.
Right, analog TV is going out, and
Did they change the date on there?
Yeah.
Excuse me?
17th.
Yeah. No,
Oh, I thought
they
you said
changed it
June.
to-
Oh, it's June
I-
12th? I
well,
thought it was going to be February
No,
17th.
they aren't
They-
quite prepared
Oh,
for
I see.
And in 2014, something else is going to be obsolete.
I will.
2014.
The incandescent light bulbs, you're going to get those
Circular light bulbs.
circular light bulbs. Bowling alleys.
Pardon me. But did you notice those circular light bulbs? You cannot put them with timers. You cannot put it in 3 ways. They better improvise those
They're
first.
going to have to.
They also, even with the dimmer.
Yeah, with your
find
dimmer switch.
Every time
You're right.
mine is on, I have 4 of them in my kitchen, and when I put it on the dimmer, every so often, all of a sudden, they'll start blinking.
Yeah.
And you have to be very careful how you dispose of them.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
What else?
this is something number one.
Okay.
The family farm, they say, is going to be obsolete because the census for the farms are going down each time a census is taken. They're going to become more of a business rather than family run. So you better hold on to your memories of that. And the second one is analog TV, which
Yeah,
we
which
had.
will be.
News magazines and TV shows. I mean, I go to the computer and get my newspaper. I mean, everything is right there. So we are in a period of change, and it's not only in government, it's in the world itself. Progress is the name of the game, and progress, as Robert Browning even said, is the law of life. And Winston Churchill had some wise remarks when he said, "Man in his moment of history has emerged in greater supremacy over the forces of nature than has ever been dreamed of before. He has it in his power to solve quite easily the problems of material existence." And I think now as we sit here, our grandchildren, great-grandchildren are going to look back at some of the things we take for granted now and say, wow,
Yeah.
they use those things. Okay, thank you so much for your contributions, and hold on to the memories, because memories complete the soul. Thank you, and God bless everyone.